Hello, 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 LinkedIn family, YouTube family. I'm your girl, Melissa D, also known as Coach Mel, and I am super excited for my first LinkedIn Live and also to share this new series or message, Activate Your Voice. I have sat on this for long enough, and sometimes when you just feel a nudge to share a message that just won't let you rest, I've learned it's not just for yourself, but typically it's tied to and it's for other people. And so I just wanted to say I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. Nervous excitement, but excited all the same. Hello, let me know that you're here. Just say hello in the comments if you're joining me from YouTube or from my first LinkedIn Live. And I've had this series in my mind for a very long time, honestly, and I shied away from dealing with this topic, and I realized that oftentimes if we run away from a topic, it's probably the number one thing that we need and that people connected to us need. And I it's a series that I wanted in order to help others live out my personal mission to be seen and heard and to activate your voice. It's not just a brand, it's not just a slogan, but it literally is how I live. Hey Yvette, thank you so much for joining. I'm so glad you're joining me on LinkedIn. So I know to come out of the gate, I have a 12-week series in mind, and I was not going to start with this topic until talking to people in my tribe, my community. And one fellow coach said to me, she said, Melissa, I see a change in you. And I said, it's because I'm healing from workplace trauma and showing up as my authentic self. There, I said it. I mean, we hear about the great resignation, millions upon millions of people. There's an exodus from work, and I have not publicly had this conversation on LinkedIn. I got called out. I'm here. YouTube family, you see me more often. LinkedIn family, I'm here because I was called out. They said you're hiding. You're hiding from the LinkedIn space. We miss you. We miss your message and your voice and what you stand for. And oftentimes, when you are using your voice to advocate for others, when you are sharing topics that are sometimes difficult or controversial, which I often do because it requires inside work to say it, and it requires acceptance for people to receive it. And it is not easy to talk about showing up at work and in the world. So this is powered by the Activation Hour, which is our media production team, to help you be seen and heard and at work and in the world. So I'm just going to get right to the meat of this thing. If you're with me again, just say hello in the comments. I can't see all of your comments, but some of you I can see. I see Yvette and a few others tuned in on LinkedIn. And I want you to definitely share if this message resonates with you. You could just like raise your hand in the comments. You can put two hands up like, "Ooh, ouch. Okay, I felt that." But this is not a message to condemn, but to heal. This is not a message about the past, but about the future of who you want to be and how you want to show up. So for me, it was very easy. And I'm going to start with a personal anecdote, a personal story, because I really believe our stories are what connect us. They're what humanize us, and they're what bridge us together for a common purpose. And I have found it incredibly easy to go live or share on Facebook or on Instagram. And now to my new YouTube family, and I have absolutely avoided LinkedIn. I'm going to tell you why. Here's the significance of LinkedIn. When you are embarking upon and becoming your true authentic self, um LinkedIn meant going back and being me. I'm not in corporate anymore. I've left my last employment, which I loved. I loved the team, but I realized the real me was calling out to me. Now, this is not to say that to be yourself, you have to leave your job. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I understood there were audiences and people that I wanted to reach. I wanted to reach my people. And oftentimes, I hear and meet people who say, in all facets of life, "Hey, my name is so and so, and I work at this, or I'm the CEO of this, but I love this over here." Can you relate? People will identify with their jobs, but they will be passionate about or love some other facet of their lives. And so for me, I realized I had to overcome workplace traumas that had happened over my 20-year career. And let me explain workplace trauma. Anything that makes you feel as if you have to stifle yourself, you have to mute or minimize your presence and how you show up, or you cannot organically and transparently share thoughts and ideas and add value. Okay. It can come from I personally am a bit of an optimist. I'm a serial optimist, and I'd like to believe that people don't just become bad leaders or bad bosses or bad employees because they are bad people. I truly believe that it's through a series of circumstances that we become that way, that we may have been jaded or hurt, or someone criticized our work and we became withdrawn and quiet because the criticism hurt. Criticism does not always feel good if we're not at a place of receiving it. And so it was through a series, years of I could show up in the room, but I wouldn't speak up. I could be at tables being a representative, but I felt, okay, Melissa, don't be loud, don't be vocal, don't so it was, I showed up halfway. And that trauma, that those responses came from traumas of being told through my career, hey, I would have executives or leaders pull me to the side, hey, it's okay if you speak up, but please don't say that. Which is good grooming, but you start to feel like your voice doesn't matter. And so I began to do the soul work of, how do I want to be present in corporate spaces and still be able to be Melissa, to still be my organic, authentic self. And I think this conversation is so important. And I think with the time that we're in, the space that we're in shows me I'm not the only one. Oftentimes you kind of feel like the crazy person in your head, and you're like, okay, maybe it's just me. I'm going through a career crisis. I'm going through a life crisis. Maybe I just need a job change. And maybe it's that you just need to be yourself. And I call that inclusionary language. I had to start adopting and visualizing how I want to be received in spaces. And so I did the soul work, the hard work, so that it wasn't just about going to a 9 to 5 job anymore. It was about my life. It was about the people that I wanted to impact. It was about the relationships I wanted to build. And so if this resonates with you, just drop in the comments and say, that's me, that's me, that's me. And if you don't want to divulge and you're like, hey, I don't want coworkers, anyone to know, hey, I'm going through my own personal transition. And so work trauma can happen in a couple of ways. Let me explain that. It can happen from uh, working under leaders who mean well, but they miss seeing people for themselves and they just see them as employees. It could mean, hey, I just want you to do your job, but I don't realize the other things outside of work affect you, right? I deeply felt this doing work in the DE&I space, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice space. And I also experienced this back in 2016, 2017, when I began to, hey, Lakita, thank you so much for jumping on. I did too, and she actually knows that I wanted to do this for a long time, and I'm finally having this series. But work trauma for me, it really kicked in when my purpose and my profession started to bump heads. When my purpose and my profession started to bump heads. It was when I was traveling 48 out of 52 weeks in the year, but I had a passion for social justice. I have a passion for public speaking. I have a passion for people having a voice and being heard. And so, but I equally loved my job. It is possible to love your career and love your job and still feel like there's a void for your purpose. It is possible. So for leaders, when your team have life fulfilling things outside of the office, it actually makes them a better employee if they're given space to share authentically who they are in and out of that space. The trauma happens when there are limitations put on, well, you can't be that person, or I can't discuss openly life issues, social justice issues, human issues. And so now people are starting to question, hey, am I crazy for feeling human at my job? Am I, am I really fulfilled at my job when I want to do community service things as well? How do we create balance? Okay. And there may be gifts and talents that your people have, and this is for the leaders that are listening. How do we get to learn the human that shows up as the employee? And if there are gifts and talents that they have that could really be a benefit to the organization, just because it doesn't fit their the confines or the boxed in role. I see that our job titles and descriptions are, it is demanded that they become more fluid so we can be better contributors. So the other part of workplace trauma is when your contribution is stifled, when your contribution is limited, when your desired form of contribution is not allowed or accepted culturally in that organization. Okay, I'll give you an example. There was a season in my life where I absolutely loved being a corporate trainer. I was a sales and marketing trainer. I love, when I say I loved it, I lived, sleep, breathe, loved it. But the conditions of the world would not allow me to be quiet about what mattered in my community. The conditions of the world would not allow me to not serve in that space. But I didn't really have a way to discuss it at work. Hey, how can we be socially responsible while still performing our corporate obligation? And I had to create that. And so I think it's really important. It even came down to appearance and dress. I mean, of course, there's dress code and professionalism. For years, I wore my hair natural and a big afro. In some spaces, that was acceptable, some it wasn't, and that caused trauma. Like, this is who I am. I want to embrace my authentic nature as an African American female. And for some, it was not acceptable. Even embracing, ageism. I accept my gray. I'm only, 40, but it's, are we allowed self-discovery without criticism? Are we allowed to show up fully polished in our authentic selves? And I wanted to talk about workplace trauma because I believe there are so many employees who want so badly to be seen and heard. And I don't believe everyone wants to leave their job. They just want to feel like they can be themselves at work. That's really what I believe. And so leaving the job now becomes, let me detach myself to get clear and to heal, to know where I can insert myself to live my purpose. That's it. It really just comes down to, I need to separate for a place to think, reflect, and look over my 10-year, 20-year career. I've had countless offline conversations with executives from the C-suite on down, or from the site level, or from the on-site teams and beyond. And I often, it is without failure, I'll hear people say, well, I'm just a this, but I love this. And it pains me. It pains me that we feel our jobs are just a means to an end, a way to get by, but my real life is out here. Y'all get what I'm saying? If you can understand that, like, just say, yeah, I understand. Just drop in the comments, understand, understand. And so now leaders are now charged with not just managing the process of the work, we're not charged with cultivating environments for the people, which is really the first priority. How do we create cultures where someone could show up and say, I'm deeply affected by the racial incident that occurred. I'm deeply affected by the school incidents and my child being at a school with, something occurring. How can we cultivate environments where we are able to really use, like, if my gift and talent is in community organization, how do I do that in alignment with the mission of a company? And so workplace trauma, oftentimes I think people are leaving the job now so that they can go face themselves and assess, was it that I had a bad boss? Or was it that I didn't know how to be honest and authentic in my feelings and emotions and in who I am? Was it that I had a leader that didn't care, or did we truly just not know each other and have the hard conversations? And the healing process for me, I want to talk about the healing part. I exposed what workplace trauma is. Now let me address how to heal workplace trauma. I've done, and again, this is not just about me, but my sincere hope in my heart that as you hear this, and I understand this is not a loud conversation to have. People internalize these things, and we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it openly. It's now just become a norm to have these culture conversations, right? Beyond diversity, but human feelings. I think regardless of your race, ethnicity, orientation, any of that, these are very real human things across any lines. Um, Healing comes from number one, creating a space to receive truth. Or better yet, inviting the truth when it doesn't feel good. Something I did before departing my last employment, which I have a great deal of respect for every boss I've worked for, and even if we didn't agree on things, and I believe in leaving with grace and integrity and having open honest dialogue. And so for me, one of the things I had to do to one, healing is not the responsibility of your employer. Healing from workplace trauma is for you. It's not, no job, you can leave the job you're in today and still carry over trauma to your next position. You can leave a career that you built to go trace your passion, but then the next personality that you encounter who reminds you of a bad boss is going to trigger you. So healing from workplace trauma starts with, like, for me, it was sitting down with my team, and I did one-on-ones, and this was me as a leader, and I said, hey, um I would really like to be a better person, a better leader, and I need your help to do that. My commitment to you is that I will not get angry, I will not be emotional, and I want to give you a moment to avail your truth about your encounter or relationships with me. Has it been good? Has it been bad? Could I have shown up better for you in this space? How do I heal my relationship with you? So, in other words, you heal workplace trauma by healing relationships with people that matter. That's how it works. And so now you take and you gather that information and you bring it back to do your own soul work. That's what it looks like. Let's see. Rita says, I totally understand. It could be viewed as work. Let me put this up here. It could be viewed as I work on mainstream, but my culture is, yes, my culture is not mainstream. My culture is not mainstream, but I work in a mainstream environment. So it feels like I'm leaving a piece of myself behind. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely, absolutely right. But yet my soul cries out to not leave a piece of me at home, to not leave a piece of myself in my community, to not leave a piece of myself at the last job because I feel like it won't fit into my future. So healing looks like having conversations and being honest, like, hey, is my colleague, is my leader telling me factual information, and rising above the emotion for application? Can we be emotionally intelligent enough to push past the delivery for application? I had to do that. I had to do that. It was a year-long process for me to be honest about how we want to show up. And it took me, there were times I felt misaligned with my role at work, but sometimes because we feel like, well, I'm just going to shut up, put my head down, and do the thing that I know I'm not equipped to do. And I hope no one notices, or if they notice, I can pivot really fast. I had to start being honest. Like, hey, I'm totally misfit. And it's to the detriment of my team. So that began to cause trauma because I was not showing up for what I knew I'm called to do. And if the organization you're with doesn't have a space for that, either A, can you create space, or B, do you go where there is space for how you can contribute at a maximum level? How do we do that? Hey, Steve. So thank you so much for jumping in, my friend. We have to understand traumas are caused, workplace trauma is caused by the inability to show up at maximum value. If I am leaving value on the table, I am now scarred and isolated because I feel like I cannot be a full contributor. And if you ever felt this way, then now you have to really ask yourself some hard questions. Is it my job's fault that I can't show up that way? Or are there some inclusionary actions on my part? Should I start going to more team building things and really talking and speaking up? What's keeping my mouth shut? What's am I afraid of the feedback? Am I afraid of the backlash? Am I afraid that I won't be seen as an equal in this space anymore? Hashtag been there, done that. I love it. I love it. It is fear based. If you are quiet at work, if you are unseen at work, it is not the sole responsibility of a leader. Now, leaders were not exempt, but it is responsibility. It is an equal party participation to be whole at work. I shouldn't be just allowed to be whole at home or whole in my spiritual pursuit, whatever that personal deep development is. It is a tragedy to me when we leave the human at home. It's a tragedy. And so fear keeps us quiet often in these situations. And I am willing to bet that if we push past, or not push past, rise above fear, fear is a container. And if we take the lid off of fear, say, I'm willing to rise above my fear for the greater good of others around me. Because have you ever noticed when you finally do say the thing or do the thing that you were afraid to do, somebody comes behind you and says, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you did that. Thank you. Because I get that so much privately. I get it privately in my inbox and in private conversations. And that's all right with me. It's all right with me if I could be publicly vocal for the people that privately want to speak out and they just don't know how. So healing comes from conversations of honest authenticity. That has been my biggest challenge, being maximized in a workplace. It causes unfulfillment. Who wants to live unfulfilled? Nobody. I don't care what your title or your position is. We do not live life to be small. Some people are okay with that. I personally am not. So I understand that for the sake of this series, if you want this series, give me some hearts and some like, just let me know I'm not crazy here. And if nothing else, I'm doing it for the one. I'm doing it for the one person who's just like me. I'm doing it for the one, I'm doing this conversation. I think this was kind of like the finale of my healing from my workplace trauma, because I felt that for the millennials, the Gen Zs, even Gen X, who know that we're at a turning point in how we show up at work, we cannot work the way that we've always worked and still move into the future to be productive. We can't. And so if it means, like, I literally have gone through over the last few months, every suit I own, I either gave it away or just like I was like, if I put on another suit, I'm gonna scream. I wasn't able to just to be the fun, girly girl, colorful, whatever. I needed space to serve who I'm called to serve. So if this was for the one person who's building your career and you have no clue how to be yourself and you're emulating the leader that you think you're supposed to be like, the biggest gift, the greatest gift you can give to the people in your care, your stewardship, and your charge is open, honest conversation. That is the greatest gift. You don't remember the leaders who gave great instructions. You remember the leaders that gave you permission to be open and be yourself. I remember every single boss I had who called me out for being anything less than myself. Those are the people we remember, even if it meant that I wasn't the right fit for them. I remember every single leader who told me, "Hey, why are you doing this work? What are you doing? How can I help you go be who you're really called to be?" And I was like, "Oh, so there's more to me?" Yes, there is. It is the greatest, most unselfish act to allow someone to outgrow your organization. It is the greatest, most unselfish act to highlight the gifts and the contributions of your people, even if it means that they share those gifts and contributions outside of your organization. One of the traumas I had to overcome, yes, that is a real leader. One of the traumas that I had to overcome, quite transparently, and in the sake of anonymity, I don't name names, but it's real because I know I'm not the only one. As a speaker, as when you are a speaker, well, I believe we're all speakers, because even if you speak on behalf of one, you represent many. I believe that we're all speakers, but for me, as a paid professional speaker, as a motivational international speaker, my resume is that. But when I shifted from my typical corporate message of training and leasing and marketing to more subjective topics such as workplace bullying, diversity, personal development work, it wasn't the most popular at the time. And also in all of my social media spaces, I am Melissa. I had a hunger to not compartmentalize my life anymore, and that I'm not just an executive, I'm not just a trainer, but I am a minister and I am a community organizer. That doesn't mean I'm going to show up to your conference and preach a message or gather a rally. It just means that I care for the heart of people, and my mission is the same on any platform. I had someone walk up to me at a conference. God, I don't believe I'm saying this, but I am, because it's healing. This broadcast is 100% about healing, mine and yours. Okay. I had a leader, someone I greatly admire. There's nothing worse than someone you admire, like a Oprah type person in your eyes, to come. Steve, thank you. You know I yeah, I love you. Um, when you are living your best authentic life out here, and there's nothing worse than someone that is offended by your authenticity, especially someone you greatly revere. And it shut me up for a long time. They said, "Hey, I mean, what are you? Like, I don't understand. I don't know what box to put you in. Like, are you a minister? Or are you a coach? Or are you a trainer? or are you a speaker? And I was like, I'm all of it. She's like, well, you have to kind of like just pick one and stick with it. And I was like, I do. And it messed me up. Now I get it. That is not to say you don't tailor and package. Hey, Stephanie, so good to see you jump on. That does not mean that you don't package your message. Okay, you have to be wise. We have to use wisdom. That some messages have your mission can be the same, but you package your message according to the audience you're called to serve at that moment. My message in the pulpit as a minister and my message at a corporate conference, okay, the mission is the same, to activate voices of the unseen and unheard. But instead of pulling from my Bible, I'm pulling from my corporate acumen. But the same thing is achieved, that people are enlightened, inspired, and activated. Period. Period. It devastated. So, as leaders, we have to be good stewards over our words on how we tell people to show up with their gifts. One of the greatest lessons I've learned here in my personal development, and when I say I've done some deep soul work, y'all, I'm talking about deep. Uh, um, even down to diversity, equity, inclusion. It became haunting to rehatch. I had to heal to even keep doing that work. Yes, you have to know your audience to tailor the message. You're still who you are does not change, but you tailor the delivery, okay? So that the mission is achieved. So because I am a blended person, we're multifaceted people. It felt in that moment that I was robbed of my ability to be myself. I had not got on stage yet. My message was totally appropriate for my audience. And so we have to give grace and give room for people to show up with their message for the people it's called for. That's why if you're not healed from work trauma, life trauma, real trauma, you will not allow yourself to be yourself in the spaces you're called to. I believe corporately, I know I'm not the only one. I've had the honor of sitting with CEOs, leaders, owners, presidents who said, Melissa, I love my company. I love my people, but I feel unseen and unheard. So here's how I want to tie this all with a bow. I don't care if you are a young professional starting in your career, if you're a middle level manager, if you are a executive, do you know? And I've had the privilege, the honor of sitting with and consulting people at every seat and every level. The commonality is that being unseen and unheard is felt no matter your title, no matter your level of education or professional acumen, no matter your ethnicity. That is the one great denominator. The one thing that brings us together is the desire to be seen fully. As there is nothing like, I bet if you close your eyes now and you think through the history of your life, the people who stand out the most are the ones who saw you for yourself. So when I talk about healing from workplace trauma, I'm talking about permission to move forward and serve the people you're called to serve. Period. Give yourself permission. I hope this broadcast has activated you to share your own story. I believe the greatest gift is to go back and share our experiences with someone who is probably where we are a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That's the greatest legacy and gift we can give is if I can save some young woman, some young man from feeling like they have to be hidden in plain sight. If they have to, that's the perfect thank you. That's the way I want to say it. No longer being hidden in plain sight. It's the worst feeling in the world to be on stages and to be heard, but not heard to myself. I was unseen to myself. So, my mission, and I'm really, really praying about is this supposed to be a series? I literally have 12 topics to bring you every week. If you want more, and stay connected with me, I want to hear from you. Text me, join my text message list. You can, if you want to send me a private message, let me know what works for you. I want to hear the topics that matter to you, how to activate your voice. I will be bringing on guests. I will be bringing on leaders who are being seen and heard at work and in the world. This isn't a message about leave your job. I would never tell you to do that because you're not going to say, Melissa told me to quit because I can't pay your bills for you. But what I am saying is to live your purpose out loud. So if you want to connect with me and share your activation story, and if you want to join me on this platform, you can text the word activate to 470. I'm going to put it up on the screen so y'all can see it. 202-3329. There it is. I'm going to post it up on the screen here. So yeah, text activate to 470-202-3329. Join my community. I invite you to text me directly. I want to know how can I help you be seen, be heard, be activated. If you're on LinkedIn, go follow my coaching community, Activation Coaching International. We have coaches across the country who are certified by our program, and they are absolutely certified as activation coaches to help you show up and be seen and heard at work and in the world. So however we can impact you, text me, stay connected, and I'll be sharing more about our programs, live and virtual events to help you find your voice. Man, thank you all so much for sharing this space with me. I finally did my first LinkedIn Live. Y'all are amazing family. I'll see you on the next one. I think you guys made me feel good in this space, and I believe that some people were awakened and activated. I'll be back. So stay tuned for more, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.